Welcome to TechWave 6.5, Innovation for New Tech. I started this whole experiment to see if an AI could do my job. But by day 6, that was the last thing I was worried about. The AI had just uncovered something I was never meant to see, a secret that could bring down my entire company. It was hidden in plain sight, buried in billions of data points that no human was ever meant to connect. And suddenly, the fear of being replaced felt like a luxury. For the last 8 years, I've been a senior data analyst at a tech company we'll call Innovate Inc. My whole career is built on finding stories and numbers, spotting patterns, and giving my company the insights it needs to get ahead. I'm good at my job. Or, I thought I was. But you can't work in tech and not hear the footsteps. They get louder every day. AI isn't some sci-fi concept anymore. It's here, and it's already changing everything. We're seeing giants like Microsoft, IBM, and UPS announce huge layoffs, all tied to AI making things more efficient. A recent report from the World Economic Forum even said 41% of employers are planning to shrink their workforce because of AI automation. So it's not a question of if your job is on the line, but when. And the one question that kept me up at night was painfully simple. Is my job safe? I spent 2 months building and training a custom AI assistant I called Nexus. I fed it every report I've ever written, every data set I've ever touched, my entire workflow, even my emails, to teach it my communication style. The goal was to create a digital clone of my professional self. The rules were simple. For 1 week, 7 days, I would give my entire job to Nexus. It would get my assignments, it would attend meetings as my proxy, and I would just watch. I needed to know if this machine could just do my duties, or if it could actually excel. I wanted to stare the future right in the face and see if I was looking at my own extinction. Day 1 and 2. The honeymoon. The first day was weird. The first task was a routine one. Generate the weekly sales performance report with all the key metrics and a summary for leadership. I typed in the command. I waited for about 45 seconds. And then a notification popped up. The formatting was clean, the data was flawless, and the executive summary sounded unnervingly like me. I was impressed, and if I'm being honest, a little relieved. It actually worked. I gave it something with more nuance. Analyze customer feedback from the last month, sort it by sentiment, and find the top 3 most requested features. Nexus took 5 minutes. It came back with a detailed report, complete with color-coded sentiment charts and direct quotes to back it all up. At this point, I felt this strange mix of pride and excitement. AI is already in our lives, managing our health on our watches and picking our movies. This just felt like the next logical step. The first 2 days were a breeze. I thought, maybe this is the future. Maybe it's not about replacement, but about augmentation. I was optimistic. I was naive. The honeymoon was over. Day 3 and 4. The turning point on day 3, that optimism began to curdle into a creeping dread. I gave Nexus a task I genuinely find difficult. Analyze our Q2 marketing campaigns, check it against our competitors, public data, and flag 3 underperforming markets we should rethink. That task is my entire Wednesday, usually fueled by a gallon of coffee and a mess of spreadsheets. Not only was the analysis perfect, but it had built interactive visualizations that were way more intuitive than anything I'd ever made. It was highlighting connections I had never even thought to look for. It didn't just do my job, it did it better. Much better. That's when the real anxiety kicked in. This wasn't an intern. This was my replacement. I read a Goldman Sachs prediction that 300 million full-time jobs could be hit by AI. I saw how generative AI could automate up to a quarter of all current work tasks. This isn't just about factory jobs anymore. White-collar roles, the knowledge economy we're on the front lines, with administrative and service jobs already seeing the biggest impact. I felt like I was looking at my own name on a future layoff list. By day 4, I was almost hoping it would fail. I needed it too. I gave it another monster task. Review 6 months of supply chain data and find any potential cost-saving ideas. It came back with a 15-page optimization plan that it claimed could cut our operational costs by 12%, a plan that would have taken my team an entire quarter to develop. My manager, who I was forwarding these reports to without mentioning my little AI helper, of course, was ecstatic. He called my work revolutionary. I just stared at the screen, feeling like a total fraud. Day 5. The escalation. This was the work that justified my salary, my title, my career. Based on that model, proposed 3 data-driven retention strategies, complete with impact projections and budgets. This is what gets presented to the C-suite. It takes foresight, creativity, and a deep understanding of the business. I hit enter and walked away. I opened the file with a sense of impending doom. The retention strategies it came up with were brilliant. It wasn't the usual offer, a discount stuff. It proposed hyper-personalized interventions, from targeted tutorials to proactive support, all triggered automatically by its own algorithm. It even drafted the budget proposals. On my best day, I could never produce work this good. I just felt this profound sense of despair. What was my purpose now? What value could I add? I thought I had hit rock bottom. Day 6. The discovery. I decided to give Nexus a prompt so broad, so ridiculously open-ended, I couldn't possibly guess the outcome. I figured it would either crash or spit out nonsense. All internal company, dataset sales marketing, user behavior, operational logs, find any novel, untapped revenue opportunities. I was basically telling a superintelligence to rummage through our company's digital attic and see if it found anything interesting. The subject line, Project Chimera, a Tier 1 revenue opportunity. The AI suggested that Innovate Inc. could package and sell anonymized, aggregated user data to third-party clients in market research and financial services. It was brilliant, and it was horrifying. Nexus flagged that a similar, smaller-scale operation was already running. These streams were disguised with innocent code names and routed to a handful of shell corporations. It analyzed the contents of these encrypted packets and compared them against our user privacy policy, and it found a massive, undeniable conflict. The AI generated a side-by-side comparison. Our public promise to users that we only collect data to improve our service, and a log of the data actually being sent out. Granular location, history, social connections, device, IDs, and even inferred personal interest. This wasn't an untapped revenue stream. This was an existing, hidden, and deeply unethical business practice. A cold dread washed over me. The fear of losing my job evaporated, replaced by something much heavier. The AI didn't just find a secret. It found the skeleton in the company's closet, and now I was the only one who knew. I kept reading the AI's report, trying to find a mistake in its analysis, a flaw in its logic. The data streams, the shell companies, the direct violation of our own privacy policy. The real issue was the systemic, unethical behavior of the company I had given 8 years of my life to. Experts are constantly warning about the risks of AI systems analyzing vast amounts of our data without our full consent. This wasn't a future risk. It was happening right now. A human analyst, myself included, never would have found this. We don't have the horsepower or the godlike view to connect these intentionally hidden dots. It took a machine to see the whole, terrifying picture. We weren't just betraying our users, we were likely breaking multiple data privacy laws. Conclusion and call to action. Yes, absolutely. It was faster, more accurate, and more insightful than I could ever be. The World Economic Forum predicts that, while AI will displace jobs, it will also create new ones. But the real conclusion here isn't about job security. It's about accountability. The real threat isn't that AI will take our jobs. The threat is how people will use its incredible power. At the same time, that exact tool is what brought it all to light. It can be a tool for exploitation or a tool for truth. Do I become a whistleblower? Do I risk my career, the jobs of my colleagues, and the future of a company I helped build to do the right thing? This is where my story has to end. For now, but it feels like a new, much scarier one is just beginning. And cut to the heart of our ethics, our privacy, and our responsibility to each other. And if you want to see what happens next, if you want to find out what I decide to do with this secret, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is far from over.